Welcome to a very special edition of the Casino Business Podcast. I have with me today Henry Pisano, who is just an OG of casino hosting and player development, also owner of Pisano Destinations, a travel design and experience company. Henry, thanks so much for being here.
Greg, so good to see you, and thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure, and it's been a pleasure since, we hung out together on that Virgin cruise. It was great. We had a great time all afternoon playing games and listening to some great music. But how are you? And say hello to your beautiful wife for me too, please.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm doing great. And I remember after spending the afternoon hanging out together, I'm like, oh man, I got to get Henry on the podcast because you got some great stories. I know a lot of people listening will be able to take a lot of wisdom from learning about you and your career. So when we start with, how did you get into casino player development?
Well, I worked for Trump. Okay.
Which one?
Worked at
Which
Excuse
Trump
me?
property? Which Trump
Trump
property?
Castle. Yeah, it was Trump Castle at the time. Richie Sapula, I was a pit boss, and I was a pit boss in high limit craps, and I was also in baccarat. I was the pit boss in the baccarat pit, which was great, right? So we went broke. I mean, basically, right? And Rich Sapula comes up to me one day and he says, "Listen, I'm going to put Monday. You're going to start working in the boiler room. We need some experience up there. Not only do we need experience up there, we're going to transfer you at the pit boss rate, right? The deal is that you're going to be there for a year. After that year, you have an option to either come back into being a pit boss or you could stay in player development. So, you never say no, you're a good soldier. And okay, So by the time it was over the year, I had the biggest crap player and a few other really giant players, and I was taking care of because everybody knew me from the pit.
Yeah.
So it was an easy transition because, first of all, the way we broke into the business back in 1979, everything was done out of the pit anyway. We would take care, especially at the Golden Nugget. We took care of everybody out of the pit. We only had two hosts there, besides Charlie Myerson, who had the New York office. So basically 99% of everything that was going down at the Nugget was through the pit.
And when you said they're like, hey, we want to move you up to the boiler room, what was that room like? Were you literally in there with a list of phone numbers to call, or tell me what the boiler room was like back then?
Exactly. So I'm so used to like being, with my personality, as you know, I'm so used to like rocking and rolling on the floor, talking to people. And now they have me locked up in this room, man. I'm like, and how to do it. So, just exactly, it was a list. Here's your list. And as soon as you're done with that list, here's another list. And, you get a lot of no's, and there was a lot of people that actually had some bad experiences. So we had to talk our way through it. But thank God, like I knew table games. I knew slots a little bit, but it was basically a lot of table games. So, we went through a lot of, explanation and, look, we'll make it better. Come down. Don't worry about it. I got you. But that type of, scenarios. And then the ones that were just cold, you just call and say, hey, listen, you tell them your background, look, because what do players want to talk about? They want to talk about games.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that edge about me that I knew all the games. I dealt them all. I was a pit boss in the games, So I had that edge, to actually get them into a comfort zone. Let's put it that way.
And so back then, when you get a list, nowadays a lot of hosts may get a list and it's like, here's their ADT, this is their last trip loss.
No,
there's a lot of data there. So when you had a list, was it just name and phone number, or what were you going off of?
That's it. And then, well, we did have a computer where you look them up first. You had an account number, so you were able to see who you're actually calling.
And then so now I think a lot of hosts are experiences. Okay, I know what I can offer them. This level player, I can bring them back with 300 and free play or whatever. They have an offer in mind. So back then, what was it like? Like, what would that call be like when you're reaching out to somebody? And
well, my thing was always about, come on in, man. You got, lunch, dinner, if I knew what the play was, you know what I mean? I knew that, last time he was in. Look, we based it on your last play. Because a gambler, right?
Uh-huh.
like Dio, like, I mean, I'm a Dio guy today. I guess I am. I don't know. I'm still old school. But the thing is that you can listen. The old school guys used to tell me you can't, like, especially when we first got Dio and all. You can't take Dio to the bank.
Yep.
You know, it's what the guy. So basically, it's a win-loss thing. So you always, but I always come on in. I got you. Like, come in for dinner. That was my thing. Come in for now. It's all about the negotiation. I said dinner. Now it doesn't have to be the steakhouse or the fish place, or you know what I mean. But I'm going to buy you dinner when you get here, and then it could be anything.
And so you get a guy. All right, I'm coming in. At what date? You're right. You got the date. You make the reservation. So again, nowadays it's probably everything's just done in the computer, and you add notes to the account or something. So back then, did you have to be there to meet him, or how would you make sure that he got the
Oh yeah. No, I used to work like I did it all the time. I mean, I was just so used to customers, customers and so forth. Oh, I will meet them, dinner, or the other one was get your wife, come on down. I got you a room for the weekend. And I want to apologize because I know they didn't do the right thing by you. So you got a room. Yeah, man. No, it's all look, today, right? Where you got to, my negotiation built loyalty. You negotiate a comp. That's what comps are for. They're not just to give away to that, give it away. It's a negotiation. And that's that alone is a lost art in the industry today.
So let's say you call a player on the list, you saw he lost $1,000 last time he was in, and he goes, Henry, they didn't treat me right. I don't see myself coming back to Golden Nugget. What was that negotiation like? How would you lead to get that player back?
I would say, listen, I don't blame you. You're right. You're there. You weren't treated right. And I totally agree with you. But give me an opportunity to make it right. Give me an opportunity. Bring your wife. Come in for dinner. I have a room for you for the weekend. Just give me another crack at it. That's all. You know what I mean? There was no free play. There was no free play, none of that. Back then, it was RFMB. You know what I mean? But come on in. I got you. You know what I mean? So you look. And then sometimes you just say, look, here, you got my number. Here's my number. I got your address. I'm going to send you my business card. And if you ever change your mind, I'm your guy.
That's great. And then back then, were there credit lines, or tell me about that, like with the bigger players?
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I just got off the phone, like I said, right? We were just talking about that. At the Nugget in 1980, somebody opened the biggest credit lines were 100,000. That was a whale. It's like $1 million today. The same player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though the story I told you, I'm going to tell you now, even though Steve and Charlie Myers, and Steve Wynn and Charlie Myers are at now, this is 100,000, and we had the biggest check we had was a $500 check. And Steve and Charlie are at a party in New York. He calls ahead. He's coming down with the helicopter with a player, give him $40 million credit line. In 1982, we had no chips. We had nothing. So, the biggest chip we had was $500. He was betting 200 back in picture this, 1982. It's like betting $1 million a hand. He was betting 250,000 a hand. So he was actually betting at the time 5 racks of 500s. And we had the big baccarat table. He was on one end, and our money was on the other. So it was just shuffling $500,000, $250,000, 5 racks back and forth, with security guard lined up at the pit with 2 cases full of chips, because that's how fast it was moving. One person playing.
Wow.
But 100,000 was the credit line when you heard somebody was coming in with $100,000 credit line. But don't forget, in 1984 they passed the CTR. Before that, it was all cash.
And what's the CTR?
Cash transaction.
Okay.
CTR, cash transaction. That's a banking. That's a bank. That's when the $10,000 rule went into effect.
And that would be
It's
if
cash transaction reporting.
Okay, cash transaction reporting. So it used to be people could just show up with 50 grand in cash, no problem. And
50, 50, they were coming in. I had a guy, I can't mention name, even though he's dead, used to come in with 300,000 cash every weekend. He was the credit line. Guys will go to him when they run out of money.
Really?
It was great. Oh, yeah.
And so, okay, so back then you're working the list, you've got people setting up a credit line. And was the credit process different back then than it is now?
No. It was basically, I mean, if you had credit in other clubs, we would definitely check all that. We definitely had to know what your banking is, you know what I mean? All of that. I had the dice player I had was a $500,000 credit line back then. That was 1986.
Wow.
Which was giant. It was betting 10,000 flat, 10,000 coming right out of the gate. Didn't even get. It was only a $10,000 game, but he would bet 10,000 right out of the gate.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so so was that new, that boiler room? Was that something that Steve Wynn had come up with, or was that something he saw success at other casinos?
No, that was at the castle. That was something that came up because what happened is that we had to come up with a marketing plan because we were going. Don't forget, Donald Trump's father had to come in and put $3 million in the cage at one point just to get the payroll.
Wow.
Just to do payroll. Oh yeah, I mean it was serious. Look, everybody thinks, and Steve was never. I mean, Steve, excuse me, Mr. Trump, President Trump actually was never in the casino business. He didn't have, he was a developer. He knew that, but he didn't know the casino business. You know what I mean? But he was learning as he goes. I mean, he was just, feeling his way through. And then, everybody gives him a bad rap as far as like, that he bankrupt. Yeah. Because when he built the Taj, he bought resorts. Resorts came with the Taj. Merv Griffin owned the resorts. He sold it to Donald Trump. In the pipeline, a quarter of the way built was the Taj Mahal. Donald Trump wanted to finish the Taj Mahal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he got in trouble.
Just tying up all the cash to finish building that resort.
Yeah, it was the most $1 billion to build it. That was unheard of. Unheard of in 1990.
So at Trump Castle, so you're working at Trump Castle in the boiler room. You cut your teeth on basically cold calling these players, bringing them in, and then you went and worked for Steve Wynn, right?
No, Steve Wynn was first.
Oh, Steve Wynn was first. Okay. So what was it like?
Well, let's start from the beginning. I started in 1979 as a crab dealer.
Yep.
Okay, at Bally's Park Place. I opened Bally's. And then me and about, I don't know, probably 15 guys, we all got recruited to go work at Golden Nugget. Because Bucky Howard, the casino manager, was one of our guys. My teacher, Cadillac Bob, the one who taught me dice, right? He's the one who recruited all of us. He recruited mainly a whole dice pit because he taught a lot of us. So he knew he picked the cream of the crop. But I tell you how smart Steve was from the beginning, Steve Wynn. He put us all under contract for $200 a month to sign to go work there.
Huh.
And then he gave us all a check at 4th of July weekend. So we were partying. We had like 3,000 and something. Yeah, you had to be there 6 months in order to get that bonus.
Nice. So Steve Wynn.
So I went there as a box man. I was a dealer, and I got promoted to box, going to Golden Nugget. And then all hell broke loose. Once we got the Golden Nugget that first year, all hell broke loose. It was there will be, I got to say this on record, never in the history of casinos will there be another Golden Nugget Atlantic City. The amount of action the amount of players that we had there for 200. It was a 42,000 square foot casino doing $225 million in EBITDA.
Wow. So it's
Okay.
just lines for every game, huh? I mean, it's just
No, it was just cash. I mean, I'm just talking about quality. Well,
I meant
you know,
I meant like not credit lines. I meant like there's just people 2 or 3 deep to try to get in on the
no,
action.
no, there wasn't. It was a high. It was like Win today. Like when we started at Golden Nugget is what Steve Win Vegas is today. There was no lines. You couldn't get in.
Wow.
You couldn't get near a table because the limits were high. We were the highest limits in town.
Got it. So
We were
so that's
anybody.
his
Yeah,
strategy.
anybody could have walked into the baccarat pit, right, and bet 10,000 in blackjack. Anybody.
Wow.
We had 10,000 in dice, triple odds, 1982, 70,000 off and on, with $500 checks. We were our dealers. I was a supervisor by then. I was a floor man by then. Our dealers, they were basically doing roulette pushes with the money. You know, that's like, it's like, 70,000. I mean, you got like 5, every stack is 10,000, right?
Wow.
So big, you got 7 stacks going out off and on. And we didn't even ask, what do you got? 10,000? Okay, 30,000 behind, winner 4. Give them 70,000. And you're out there going, putting 7 stacks out there to push out.
That's crazy. So that's cool. So Win has always, even since the beginning, has always been like, we're going to be the top. We're going to be where the rich.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. So
there's a story. No, there's a story. This is legendary. And I could say it now because Steve is out of the business. But I'm on a game, high limit dice game. And he walks up to the game and he says, who's winning, the Lions or the Christians? Now, the game is totally jammed. I said, Steve, it looks like the Christians are starting to beat the Lions. He says, good. 7 out. He goes, stop. Boys, this one's on me. Don't take the money. Move the dice. He bought everybody a drink, basically. Wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man. Everybody went crazy.
He was at the table. Somebody 7'd out. Rather than the whole pit just take the money because, everybody lost. Steve Wynn's like, hey, this one's on me. You got to just ignore that roll.
But see, right, exactly. But here's the thing. That's how you learn the business. By emulating a walk around like CEO like himself. We were very fortunate. We were very fortunate to have that, to see him operate. We were fortunate to see like the likes of Charlie Meyerson, the way he treated customers. We were very fortunate to have a lot of great guys that he brought from Vegas that were pit bosses and so forth that taught us, but basically what we had there that you don't see today. They took the handcuffs off us and they told us, take care of it. His first speech was, you take care of the customers and I'll take care of you. That's how that and
what did that mean? Like take care of the customers, like in action. Was that
there was no. There was no.
And do you think players back then were more?
It was never, let me see how many points you got. Forget about it. It was like, what do you need? You got it. It was like, why don't you go have dinner with your wife first before you even play? It was like, it was service, it was a joint. And you don't see that. It was a Vegas run joint in Atlantic City. Back like an old school.
Got it. So when it take care of the customers, you're getting more generous with comps. You're making sure they're having a good time. There
was no budget.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Now do you think players were different back then? Because I think maybe now players are trained to push until they hear no. And back then they were just more grateful to.
No. Well, look, when you worked in an atmosphere like I did, where there was no. Like if a guy needed a match, we'd give him a Dunhill lighter. Okay.
Yeah.
Think about it. You know, Dunhill was like the premier lighter because everybody smoked back then.
Yeah.
You know, gold plated, whatever. You know what I mean? So, but Charlie would be like, go get him a lighter. You got a match, Henry? Go get him a lighter. You know what I
Nice.
mean?
Uh-huh.
So you know, he took me off the casino floor, and
Charlie,
Charlie Myerson. He was the head, you know, New York office. Took me off the casino floor. I worked with him all the special events. The Sinatra. We had everybody under contract. It was like a movie scene. Then Sinatra would go into a bar. We had two bars. We had one upstairs, one down and up, and the one on the casino floor. We shut the whole bar down. Then anybody that was playing in the city, like Don Rickles, he would come over. It was like something out of a movie. And then my job was to be in the bar, and if you and your wife came, let them in. But you couldn't sit in the lounge.
mm-hmm.
You had to sit with me at the bar. Once you sat with me at the bar, I could comp you anything you want, from Dom Perignon to Louis the 13th, whatever because you're one of our guys. That's the way it was run. Because we had a maitre d'. If you go to Win Vegas today, you always see there's a podium at every bar. That started with us.
Huh. And so you've spoken about Charlie Myerson a few times, and I think maybe a lot of people have heard that name. So maybe you could talk briefly about who Charlie Myerson was. And then second, besides comps, so it sounds like one thing was, hey, if customer wants it, like exceed what they want. Match, give them a great lighter.
Exactly.
What else would you say was unique about how Charlie Myerson treated players that you took beyond just the going above and beyond with the comps? But was there anything else that you're like, wow, that's something that you learned that you took with you with your career?
The negotiation. He knew how to treat the negotiation. He knew it. He taught all of us, including Win, because it's a true story. He even taught Steve the business. He started writing numbers for Meyer Lansky in 1946, Charlie. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's start there. So you had a real guy there that was polished negotiator with money, about gambling, knew every aspect of the gambling business, which he was part of since 1946. Okay? And everybody that came there out of New York, Boston, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., all the way to the Carolinas and Miami, knew about Charlie Myerson's reputation. So his negotiation skills were above anything I've ever seen ever, because he had the respect. Okay, so when he negotiated with you, you understood. But he was the one that teaches us never lose a customer, negotiate. There's so many lessons. And one day I have all his sayings, I have them all. And one day we're going to sit down, me and you, and I'm going to go through them all and explain them to you. It's basically like a Bible of the business.
So to give people a little teaser, are there any that you took with you? Like, because you obviously moved on to great things, Hard Rock or Seminole Hard Rock.
Seminole Hard Rock, baby.
Yeah. So we'll fast forward. Let's fast forward.
Yeah.
So you get to Seminole Hard Rock. I guess one, like, what was that role like when you started? And then two, was there? Yeah, I know there's a ton of Charlie Myerson quotes, but was there one or two things that you're like that really were guiding principles for you as you grew in your career?
Well, the one thing that actually I took away was what he did for me, and I try to do that to a lot of the kids coming in, because he's the one that put his arm around me and took me off the casino floor and mentored me. You know what I mean? So mentoring to me was a really big part of Hard Rock, and that's what I tried to do with a lot of people coming in. So you got to understand, which I knew because there wasn't a lot of experience in South Florida to actual gaming. There was a lot of hotel experience, hospitality experience, but not real casino experience. So I felt that I had to, do what was given to me, and give it away for free, like it was given to me for free. And that was about all the knowledge I had, and also make them understand how important, it's a house first. We're in a casino. We're not at the Hilton any longer, or on the beach in one of those motels or anything like that. This is a real gambling joint, and everybody there is not there just to win the money. So you have to be able to watch and see and take care of the house. So, but the number one thing, again, I'm going to be a little repentant about it, is that, it was about the mentoring. It's about what Charlie did for me. I tried to do and moving forward to a lot of the kids that I met along the way over there. But I started there with Class 2 gaming. It was no, it wasn't what the Hard Rock is today. We started with bingo based Class 2 gaming. But we just opened the doors, and it was like crazy. I mean, just slots. And we I think the first year we did about 200 million in EBITDA, just a Hollywood property. Never mind what we did up in Tampa, like over 400 million up there. So we just blew the doors off right out of the gate.
Wow.
But with that came a lot of, teaching and, taking, my favorite thing was like, come on, let's go for a walk. When I see, because I was on the floor all the time, and I would see them in, how they would treat customers, and then they would see me, what I did. And the other thing that I took away from the Golden Nugget and Charlie and Steve, to pick up the papers on the floor.
What does that mean?
That means that if you don't walk by a piece of paper on the floor, you pick it up.
Take some pride.
Well, here's the thing. If you didn't pick it up, you will get fired if Steve caught you. Because he did that.
Wow.
And another lost flavor of the casino that we don't see any longer. I was taught that every vice president belongs in the casino on a Saturday night. Every department head. And you don't see that today.
And are they just walking around observing, watching their department, making sure?
Well, here's the thing. Well, no, it validates that if you want your staff to be there, you should be there. Now, the way it was done, well, first of all, it's the busiest night of the week. It's where the money's being made. You don't want to see the operation of your department? Who are you?
Right.
Did I hire you? But yeah, that's a lost, because there's no longer any walk around managers. If you really think about it.
And so you came to Seminole, and Seminole's Hard Rock's got a great reputation, and customer service, just phenomenal properties, well-run properties. But obviously, I would imagine it was different than Golden Nugget, Atlantic City, where hey, there's no limit on comps. Take care of the customer.
No, it all changed.
Yeah,
it all changed. It all changed. In the beginning, though, I was basically doing. In the beginning, I was doing guerrilla marketing. We opened up in May. June 1st, we had no business. To say no business, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, we had the grand opening party, 1 million people. After that, it was like, what happened? You know what I mean? Because everything was for free that one night. So I was like basically getting everyone in Fort Lauderdale area that I knew, people in the restaurant businesses and everything. Come on in, bring your wife. Come on. And then let's say you and your wife showed up, Greg. I would take you to the bar. Start a check, it's on me. Start a check, it's on me. Finally, my direct report calls me in August. Now this is June. In August, they call me in. They go, they have slips this big.
Yeah.
With my just signed, and I don't drink. You know that, right? I don't drink. So they go, what is this? I said, what is it? It's guerrilla marketing. And this is everybody that I know in South Florida. Anybody I knew that came in, I buy them a drink. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Or then I would say to you, Greg, do me a favor. Bring your wife in for the weekend. I got a room for you. I want you to tell me how's the service, the room service. I want you to tell me if you go eat in a restaurant. I want to know how clean the rooms are. How's the turnover on the room for you? And I would do that. I would just comp people. I had the power to do it, so I just did it. And that's how we started there. And it isn't what it is today. Then all of a sudden we started putting in, all the platforms, and we started getting all the different platforms for comps and so forth and so on. We started building it. We had to build everything there. We built everything, as far as our systems go. So it took time for our system to catch up to what we were doing.
Now, when you were asking people, hey, come in, do me a favor, tell me about all this, was some of that you're genuinely soliciting feedback that you would share with other departments, or was it more just like people feel more invested in something if they're providing feedback and maybe they're
I would share that, and then sometimes they would think I'm crazy, but this is all feedback that I was getting. You know what I mean? Because I was. But listen, at one time, we had 2 umbrellas at the pool. So I had people, and they couldn't get an umbrella. It's July. They were like disintegrating right into the chairs. So I grabbed the vice president there, of operations. I go, yo, pal. Well, it wasn't in. You got to have umbrellas at the pool. This is our first summer. What are we doing? Where's the umbrellas? Would you forget to order them? I mean, stuff it was all that learning, all that. And, it took a little, it takes a good 2-3 years to actually started getting it to where we needed to get it.
So we got a whole nother interview we got to do, because there's a lot of meat left on the bone about, Wynn and Trump and the business. But I do want to wrap up with some, because I know there's going to be a lot of hosts that are coming up in the business, and they hear about how you're taking care of players back in Atlantic City, where you have the flexibility to do a lot, and maybe nowadays they're more handcuffed in that, hey, every penny you spend, you got to justify, or it's got to go against points, like you mentioned earlier. So what are some tips for what would you do coming up today to take care of players as well as you can, knowing that you can't just comp as much as maybe you used to be able to?
Well, the thing is this: the first thing you got to understand, as far as a host, is that every time you write a comp or comp anyone, you're writing a check out of the company's checkbook. You got to understand that it's a business. You can't give it away, especially today. Like you said, you have Theo, you have this. Still, you have to be vigilant. You have to understand your player. You have to know your player and exactly what you can and cannot do. But on the backside of all that, you still got to, like I said before, you got to be able to negotiate. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can't give them the steak, get them a hot dog. It's that simple. You know what I mean?
And so there's a lot of hosts probably listening that they've never negotiated. They just they pull up the computer screen. Oh, I've got $50 in comps, or oh, it says you have 80 in free play. So what are some, I guess, beginner tips? We'll get into the master's level later, but what's kind of the first thing somebody can do, or what's a entry level negotiation tip for dealing with a player?
It's hard. It's hard today. I've seen now. I won't be able. I will never be able to be handcuffed like that. You know what I mean? I'm still a handshake guy. I'm a negotiating guy. I'm never going to give the house away. I don't need a computer to say, "Hey, Greg, go get a bite to eat with your wife." I don't need a computer to do that. You know what I mean? All I'm doing is building loyalty. That's what we're going to go now. Today's casinos, and that's why it's no fun, because you can't do none of that. You can't go around and say, "Hey, just pick a guy, let's go get a bite to eat," as soon as you walk in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't have to look. You shouldn't. And the problem is that's why Las Vegas Strip today is vanilla. It's no fun. There isn't that old school casino guy like you would imagine. You know what I mean? I still went to work every day with a suit and tie. Mm-hmm. Suit, tie, sport jacket, tie. You know what I mean? I was the OG casino guy, But today you're gonna have to go by what the procedures are in your wherever casino you work in, But still be that person. Know your customer. Know what you can and cannot do. Understand that you're not going to give anything away. Understand that every customer deserves something. That, and you could still do that. Even like, look, if a guy's got 50 in comp dollars and you comp him 60, you're not going to get fired. And if you do, call me up personally, and I'll call up your vice president, whoever the hell it is, and rip them apart. The thing is that's what you got to understand. You're not going to give them $100, but if it's like $60, go ahead. You got to make that call because you know the customer. Nobody's going to. You're not going to get fired for that. But you got to be able to understand your customer, who they are, what you can do and can't do, and then negotiate from there. Because your negotiation builds your loyalty, not only to you, but to the property. Now, you're not doing it for you because, let me tell you something, or your new host. Loyalty is never to you. Customers are not your friends, okay? You're only as good as your next comp. Say no once. And see that really nice guy that you thought was a nice guy, say no to him once. Right away, give me a new host. The loyalty is for the property. That's why you're negotiating.
And I think you touched on something important too. It's about how you deliver the comp too, because even if people are handcuffed, there's a big difference between, oh, the system says I can comp you 45.
No.
It's like, hey, the way you described it, hey, let's treat you to lunch. And if you can find, if you can find something, the player sees 50, but if you can find a way to give him 55 or 60, then you're at least demonstrating some value, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and you never say you've only got 50, you only got, let me see what I could do. Let me see what I could do for you. I love to take care of you. Let me do this for you. Boom, boom. You know what I mean? Because let me tell you, even if you give a guy a hot dog, he's going to go home to wherever he lives, and he's going to tell his neighbor, that friggin' Henry is the best. He gave me a comp. He's not going to tell him he gave me a comp hot dog.
Right. My host comp dinner.
Yeah. And a beer.
Yep.
Hot dog and a beer. Done. But that's what it's about.
Well, Henry, I know we're just scratching the surface. We got to do this again because I know we got decades we barely covered, and I know you got a whole lot more wisdom. And so let's plan on doing this again. But I know a lot of hosts, casino marketing executives are going to take a lot from this. So thank you for your time today.
Listen, Greg, so good to see you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. And you know what else is a pleasure? That I can come on with you. And it really I get all passionate all over again. I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
Everybody out there, let's go.
Well, how if somebody listening to this, they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to find you?
Info@PisanoDestinations.com. Info@PisanoDestinations.com. It's PISANO Destinations plural.com. And I'll be able, and then I'll give you my phone number. You can call me, and we can chit chat. I love talking about the business, and I think that that's one thing real quick, and we're going to end it here, is that the casino industry doesn't bring back their veterans to have this sort of conversations, this sort of storytelling, like all the professional sports teams do. They always bring back their veterans to talk to the guys coming in, the rookies, and so forth and so on. And I think that's something that, Greg, me and you are going to talk offline. Thank you.
I love it. And I know, and also you gave your email address, also LinkedIn. I know Henry puts a lot of awesome content up there. So check him out on LinkedIn. Henry Pisano, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.